like to call this meeting the Show City Council to order, show that all council members are present tonight. I've asked Councilman Judd to lead us in the invocation, and I'll lead us in the pledge if you'd all like to stand and join us.
Our Heavenly Father, we're grateful for this opportunity we have to meet together, our city council meeting. We're grateful for our many blessings, for the beautiful area which we have the privilege to live. We're grateful for all that Thou has done for us. We're grateful for our police department, our first responders, all that they do. We pray that Thou will help to keep them safe. We pray that as we go through our meeting today, that we can be inspired to make decisions that would be best for our community and pleasing unto Thee. We say these things in the name of Thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A singer in the audience. Nice. Thank you, Councilman Judd. Appreciate that. All righty, next item on the agenda is called as the public. Any citizen desire to speak on a matter that's within the jurisdiction of the city may do so at this time. Seeing nobody sprint up here, we'll move to the next item under special events. Swearing in a new council members, Mrs. Hall.
All right, if I can get all the new council members down here and we'll do the oath of office.
Read from this end.
Okay, you guys will raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Grant Clark, do solemnly swear I will support the Constitution of the United States
And laws
and the Constitution and laws
of the state of Arizona.
of the state of Arizona.
That I will bear true faith
I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance to the same
defend them against all enemies,
and defend them against all enemies,
foreign and domestic.
foreign and domestic,
That I will faithfully
that I will faithfully
and impartially
and impartially discharge duties of the position of city councilman
according to ability.
according to the best of my abilities. So help me God.
Welcome back. All righty, next item on the agenda is a designation of vice mayor to a 2-year term. I'd like to start that off by nominating Vice Mayor Connie Kakavas. Is there anybody else that wants to? A second. Okay, hang on. Any other nominations? Seeing none. Now I'll take that second. All those in favor of appointing Connie Kakavas as vice mayor? All those opposed, same sign. Motion passed unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Connie. Appreciate that. Okay, next item on the agenda is recognition of a retiring city employee. Honorable Shirley, would you please come to the podium, please? So a quick little bio, which I didn't really know all this, but Shirley was hired on December 6, 1995 as a court clerk. March 29, 2004, promoted to court clerk 2. October 13, 2008, promoted to lead clerk and associate magistrate. January 1st, 2019, elected to the city magistrate. And of course, we appreciate everything you've done for us, Shirley, without a doubt.
Thank you.
Krista, you want to say a couple words if you don't mind?
Oh. You thought you were going to get out of this. Mr. Mayor.
I had no idea.
I know.
I'm
Good thing,
trying- I'm
good
trying
thing your
to-
husband lets me know things.
I'm trying not to cry.
I
So.
know. Me too. So, Judge Patterson has been with me. We've run teen court for the last 15 years. Her beginning as the clerk and helping keep Judge Price organized. And then she graciously moved into being the judge, which has been a tremendous blessing to us. And this is just a few of our teen court members that could be here tonight, but we just wanted to recognize her service and her volunteerism for the past 15 years for our local teen court program.
Thank you.
We love you very, very much,
Thank you.
and we're going to miss you.
I'm going to miss you all very much.
Thanks. So these are for you,
Oh, thank you.
and then and we have some flowers.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That was a nice surprise. I had no idea. So thank you very much. All of
Thank you, Krista. Appreciate that.
Thank
Thank
you.
you all. Morgan, do you got a couple words?
I do. So
You sit down.
No, we don't want to. Yeah.
I'll keep it short, but when I came up here 26 years ago, I think it was just shortly after you must have started as a court clerk. I just listened to the date, but it was in 1996, and they sent me up to prosecute some dog cases.
We're still there.
We're still there. The first person I met was Shirley Patterson. She really kept things organized, kept things efficient in the court, and just really has done a great job. I don't know if you remember, we're at that old little house over there off of Cooley. That's where the court was. It was in a little house over there, but we've come a long way since then. But just want to say, Shirley, I really appreciate you just keeping things going at the court. Working with you for 26 years, it's been a pleasure. I wish you the best in retirement and hope you enjoy your family and just everything going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Take that, Morgan. Anybody want to make a comment before we? Yes, ma'am. Of course.
Shirley and I went to high school together. She had this beautiful blue car. I don't know what the color exactly was, but it was gorgeous.
The only way I would go to high school is if you bought me a new car. So.
And you kept her at school. So, but she was a joy then, and you've been a joy to know since then. And you've done a wonderful, amazing job with our teen court and with our court system in general. And we appreciate all your dedication and awesome hard work that you've put into that court and organizing it, developing it, and making it state of the art. Thank you. And I wish you all the happiness and joy and everything that you can possibly hope for in retirement.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Councilman Clark.
Yeah, so I just have to thank Shirley from a personal standpoint. Two of my boys are in the teen court program, and it's really the highlight of the programs they do in high school. They truly enjoy going and learning and making it something that impacts them. And it's something that you've really done a great job with. And so I don't think you'll fully understand how much of an impact that has on our community, because it gives teenagers an opportunity for a second start. And it gives kids who have made some dumb decisions that they probably should not have made, definitely. And it gives them a fresh start and the ability to really make a change in their life. And so that's something that I hope that we don't we underestimate that sometimes. And being able to give those kids a fresh start is really a great opportunity. The second part is when I was a snot-nosed attorney here working for Morgan, and I went to the court, and they expect you to graduate law school and to know everything, right? And I remember going to the court, and I don't know how many times I would go over to Shirley and say, Shirley, you got to help me. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I need your help. I need you to guide me and direct me. And there were so many times I would go over to Shirley's counter. I would just kind of knock on the window. It was the one we had up here at Sixth Place, and she would always be willing to help. She was overloaded, overworked, definitely underpaid, and she was so willing to help. Someone who should have really known more than I did. And you just have a kind servant's heart, and I really appreciate that about you. And then I remember too, one more thing is during the campaign of 2018 when you ran for judge, you did such a remarkable job as far as maintaining a campaign that was admirable, that was respectful, and that was a great reflection on our community. And I think that's why you won, is because people saw the integrity that you have, and they wanted that on the bench. And so the respect I had for you before that it grew leaps and bounds during that campaign. So I want to tell you that I am forever indebted for what you've done for me and for my family. And the Show Low Justice Court and the Show Low court system has always been synonymous with Shirley Patterson. And I don't know how, Scott, you're going to take over her shoes, but good luck with that. And I just want to say thank you, Shirley.
Thank you so much. Very kind. Thank you.
Anybody else? Shirley, we got just a little gift for you here on behalf of the City of Show Low and the City Council. It's a nice little gavel. It says Honorable Shirley Patterson, Show Low Municipal Court, 1995, 2022. Thank you again for everything, Shirley. Appreciate it. And we'll let you close.
Well, I had to make sure that I wrote everything down because I didn't want to get too emotional or forget where I was at. So
Oh, wait, I can gavel you down.
it's not going to be too long. But first off, I would like to thank my family. Of course, my husband, Kenny, Claudia, Paul, Piper, who's back there in teen court, PJ. And then we have Matthew's son, Savannah, Eli, Ben, and then Daniel's son, Brooke, Briggs, and little Parker. As you know, Kenny was probably my biggest promoter during the campaign, and he's definitely my crutch, and he's done great things for us, and I love all my family. Thank you. I want to, my staff is here. Thank you to Raylyn, Tiffany, Darcy, Andrea, and anybody else that showed up. I want to say thank you to Scott for all of the years that you've been with me. You've done a great job, and I know you'll do a great job taking over my spot. So I wish you the very best. I wanted to tell all of you, Connie, you started this many years ago by hiring me. I was one of those people that when I went to work every day, I loved going to work. I loved my job. I really did. I was very fortunate because there's a lot of people out there that go to work because they have to, and I loved what I did. So that's a benefit. And I also want to tell you how much I enjoyed working for the city. I really did. You have always been great to me. It's been fun working with Morgan, Nicole, you, Ed, Mike. I haven't really had a lot of working experience with you, but just through the city council. Mr. Judd, I don't really know you very much, but Mr. Clark, Mr. Leach, Connie, Mr. Adams, not really much, but the rest of you, I've had to deal with you and not deal with you, but had to work with you. Everybody's been so kind over the years, and you've done such a great job of supporting me, and I appreciate that very much. And just want to say that I wish all of you the very best that life has to offer, and I'm closing that chapter of my career, and I'm going to open up the retirement chapter and hope to have a lot of years to have fun. So thank you all so very, very much.
Thanks, Shirley.
Congratulations. Thank you.
We'll take a couple minutes if you guys want to. I'm sure you want to. I don't know if you want to stick around. You're more than welcome to, but if you want to cut out, we'll take. None of you want to stick around?
He wants to sit up there.
Briggs, come
gavel.
on. Briggs, come sit up here with me. Well, I guess she might. I guess she doesn't need that, huh?
And I was 88.
Leave those flowers there, Kenny.
Finally got my wife to a council meeting. All righty, next item on the agenda is a presentation of the annual comprehensive financial report for the fiscal year 2022. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and council members. As you know, we've completed our fiscal year 22 back in June of 2022, June 30th, and the audit has been completed. And we're happy to say we have a good report this year. And I would just like to take a minute to thank Carrie Bilby for all of her work put into this, and also the rest of the finance department who participated. And then also to thank Hinton Burdick and their team. It was very streamlined process this year. I think COVID taught us how to do some things remotely and be a little more efficient, and they were able to get our audit done being on site for about a day or a day and a half. So with that, I'd like to turn the time over to Hinton Burdick. If I could have McKay come up. McKay Hall is the audit partner from Hinton Burdick. He's been on our audit. They do kind of a rotation, so he's been on, since I've been here, this will be the 8th audit, and I think he's probably been on 4 of them. So very familiar with our staff and our processes, and he's helped us learn and grow and be more prepared for year end and addressing the fiscal concerns of the city. So with that, I'll turn the time over to you, McKay. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate the opportunity to work with the city and the opportunity to be here this evening. I know that the audit presentation is usually the highlight of the year, but I would like to commend your city staff as well. There's always plenty to do, especially in a city the size of Show Low. And an audit can be an interruption, even under the best of circumstances. It can be a bit of an interruption in the normal processes. But your staff have been extremely accommodating and extremely helpful and good to work with as well. And even though we have been a bit of an interruption, they've always been really helpful in getting the audit done, and we really appreciate that. And based on what we've seen, your team is really committed to doing a good job, doing it right, doing it well. And each year, over the years, as there have been recommendations and findings, they've really focused on getting those addressed and taken care of. And I think that focus, that dedication, that work has really shown, especially in the last couple of years. So I would like to commend them. Okay. Audit presentation. So I'm going to go through real quick. We'll touch on the audit reports, what the result of the reports, what the result of the audit is. And then we'll go through and talk about a couple of key financial indicators. And then we'll go through and take a look at 5 years worth of analysis on a couple of those key indicators as well. In the course of the presentation, if you have any questions, by all means, please feel free to ask. I'm happy to give you the information, and if I don't have the answer close to hand, we can always get that information and get it. So to start with, the product, as it were, that comes out of the financial report is the independent auditor's report. And so we come in, we take a look at the financial activity that's included in the financial statements, in the financial system, and we'll go through various tests, analytics, checking with outside parties. We'll go through to see if the information that's included in that system appears to be correct, materially correct and properly stated. It's considered materially correct if there are no variances that would cause a reasonable user of the financial statements to change their opinion on whether or not to invest with the city or the city's financial position. That would be a material difference. And at that point, then there would be a finding recommendation that would come out of it. So the independent auditor's report you can find on pages 1 through 3 of the bound annual comprehensive financial report. And we're happy to note that it's an unmodified or a clean opinion this year. So the information is materially correct and reasonably consistent with that, with the test work we performed and the information we pulled. So in short, you as a city council can rely on that information to go through and take a look at make your decisions on the operations of the city. Along with that, there's what's called a Yellow Book report. It's a report on the internal controls over financial reporting and on compliance. So the financial audit does not come in and it's not designed to audit your internal controls. Those processes, those procedures that you have in place to safeguard the use of the city's resources, we're not auditing the internal controls. But in order to gain an understanding of the financial information and to see if it appears to be materially correct, we have to come to an understanding of what those processes and procedures are, what those internal controls are. And in the course of that, if there is a control or a group of controls that aren't working right, such that there could be a material misstatement that gets processed through the system without being caught in the normal course of business. So if there could be a big mistake processed through the system without getting caught in the normal course of business, that would be a material weakness. Any of those that we find in the course of the audit, we note in this Yellow Book report, this report over internal controls. and it's located on page 115 of the annual report. We're happy to note that there were, oh, excuse me, I got the wrong page there. It's on pages 113 and 114. But we are happy to note that there were no material weaknesses found in the course of the audit. Also, there are no significant deficiencies, which are like material weaknesses but less severe. If there's a high likelihood a big mistake could be processed through without being caught, that would be a material weakness. If there's a lower likelihood that a big mistake would be processed through without being caught, that would be a significant deficiency. And we did not find either in the course of the audit this year. There's also a report on state compliance, and that's what's on page 115. There were no reportable findings, there were no material issues, no findings with relation to the state compliance report. And then anytime that you have federal funding, grants, federal loans that are $750,000 or more in the course of a year, you have to have what's called a single audit. And there's a single audit report issued as well. We're happy to note that that single audit report also has an unmodified or clean opinion. There were no findings. If there are material weaknesses or significant deficiencies, they are issued in a letter. It's the findings and recommendations letter that's provided to the city management and provided to you. As there were no material weaknesses, no significant deficiencies or compliance findings, there was no letter this year. Financial highlights: the total net position of the city was $154 million at June 30, 2022. And it gives more detail on how you get to that number there on page 15. Net position is the equivalent of equity for the city. It's the resources that you have to meet your obligations. It's an important number to track over time. If that's growing, that's generally a good thing. Your purpose as a city is not to try and build resources like a business is, but because of inflation, infrastructure projects, things of that nature, you do need to have that net position build over time. And so you want to keep an eye on it. If it's building relatively slowly, reasonably, that's a good trend. If over time that net position stays flat or decreases, that could be an indication that you could run into problems further down the road. So it's an important number to watch. This year it increased by $15.7 million. The detail of that increase is there on page 17. That's broken into two categories. There's the net income from governmental activities, and that was $12.2 million increase this year. And then there's the increase from your business type activities, your proprietary. And that was $3.5 million this year. Your total revenue from all sources was just over $50 million this year. And the cost of all the city programs was $34.54 million. And there's all sorts of interesting detail there on pages 16 to show you how those numbers came about this year. It's important to watch capital assets. That's another key indicator to watch. The governmental fund capital assets reported an overall decrease in assets. There were additions of 6.5 million. Excuse me, there was a typo in there. There was an overall increase. There were additions of 6.5 million, and then there was depreciation expense of 4. The significant additions this year, there were improvements, infrastructure improvements, building type improvements of 821,000, building additions of 427,000, and then there were various road improvements and projects that were about 1 million in total. There were no significant deletions or removals this year for capital assets. Those are important to watch because, as you can see, anytime you've got large infrastructure projects that go in, it's a substantial commitment and use of resources, which is why that net position has to build up over time. But it's good to keep an eye on those because they do age out and have to be replaced. And as the city grows, new infrastructure has to. For your business type activities, capital assets remained pretty close to the same. There was 2 million of additions and then 2.6 million of depreciation. So the totals stayed pretty consistent there. From those additions, there were various water infrastructure additions for 627,000. There were some software additions of 716,000, and then various wastewater infrastructure additions and improvements of 308,000. And again, in the business type activity, there were no significant additions this year. Debt, the governmental long-term debt decreased by just over $1 million, 1.1 million. which was really the result of the regularly scheduled debt service payments on that debt. The utility fund, long-term debt, it decreased by $594,000. Again, the same thing. It was the regularly scheduled debt service. And then the debt service payments for fiscal year 23 should be about $1.8 million, which is pretty comparable to what it was this year. The general fund is one of your major funds. It's generally the operating fund of the city, so to speak. So it's good to keep an eye on it there as well. The fund balance there, which is basically the same thing as net position. Once again, it's the equity for the fund. It increased from the prior year. It went up from 22 million up to 29 million as of the end of June 30. 2022, page 20 gives you the detail of the revenues and the expenses that lead to that increase. The unassigned fund balance, which are the resources that you can use basically at the drop of a hat to meet the needs of the city, that was 28 million, which was about 127% of the general fund. And that's an increase from last year of 6%. The reported revenues in the general fund were in excess of expenditures by $10 million. That was an increase of $2 million from last year. And then the actual resources received in the general fund were greater than the final budget. So your actual revenue in exceeded your budget by 9.1 million, but the city was able to keep the actual expenditures under budget by 9.5, which is part of the reason that you had a healthy increase in the fund balance.
Before you go on, has anybody got any questions up till then, especially on the general fund? Good. All right, thank you.
Sounds good. Let's go ahead and go into the 5-year trends then. The general fund, taking a look at the balance sheet, we've got the assets, the liabilities, and the fund balance. The general fund, it does show significant increases in fund balance over the last 5 years. You take a look, it went from 13 million in 2018, it's up to 34 million this year. That's that top line there. The bottom line with the squares, those are your liabilities. And as you can see, they have not grown as quickly as the assets have, and therefore the fund balance has increased. So it's been kind of a couple of crazy years with the pandemic and the expectations and what actually came through. So I think in the end, it's kind of comforting to be able to see this kind of growth, because I know as the pandemic was starting, the expectation was for a sizable decrease. But with some of the programs and grants that the city received and the way the sales tax has gone, it's been fairly healthy for the city, financially speaking. As you can see, it's a northeasterly trend. This were a map, it's going up towards the northeasterly corner, which is the direction that you want it to go over. The restricted cash and the unrestricted cash in the general fund, if you take a look at that, it's been growing. Really, it's a direct result of the activity in the general fund. The line there on the bottom with the squares, that's the restricted cash. As you can see, it's kind of up and down a little bit. It stayed fairly consistent. And your unrestricted cash over time, that top line has been growing again in that northeasterly direction, which is a healthy direction for the city to be going, and a good trend. The revenues and expenditures in the general fund, looking at those over the last 5 years. As you can see, if you look at 2018-19, there were some differences. In 19, they started to close in. 20 was really when the pandemic hit, and so we've seen some distancing of the revenues up above the expenses, which is good. The city took a very conservative approach to try and keep those expenses down, which was good given the uncertainty. And then the way that the grants and the sales tax came in, it's kind of lent to that difference between. Going forward, that's going to vary year to year. Some years the expenses will close in close to the revenue. Some years there will be a bit of a difference, but it's a good trend to watch over 5 years. Over time. The sales tax revenue, just to show what that's done over the last 5 years, in 2018, it was $12 million. This year it came in at just over 18.5. So that's where part of that increase in the revenue has been coming from. It's the largest single annual source of governmental revenues for the city, and so it's got a direct correlation. The other major tax revenue sources, the franchise and vehicle tax, the state sales tax, the urban revenue sharing. You take a look at those. The urban revenue sharing has remained fairly consistent. It's been in an overall upwardly trend, a little bit of a dip this year. If you take a look at the state sales tax, though, and the franchise tax, as you can see, they're trending northeasterly, which is expected given activity, inflation, and the like. The HERF, the Highway User Fund, it's important to watch that. The revenues and the expenditures, as you can see, over the last 5 years, the expenditures have exceeded the revenues in all 5 of those years. Ideally, the funds ought to be balancing out, but this is kind of a tough one, depending on how much money you get from the HERF. When you have road projects that have to be done, they've got to be done, and they tend to be expensive. And so sometimes there's not much you can do. It's just going to be more expensive than the HERF funding that comes in, and you've got to cover the cost with other sources. And that's what the city's been doing for the last years. The cash trend, as you can see, the cash has been decreasing a little bit. It's kind of up and down. It's been fairly consistent over the last 5 years. That has to do with the transfers in from the other funding sources to help cover the costs of those infrastructure projects that you have to have. The water fund, total revenues and expenses. The top line with the diamonds is the revenue. The bottom line with the squares is the expenses. So the water fund is an enterprise fund. It's a business type fund. This type of fund is meant to try and build up resources like a business does. Its services need to be paid for by the people that are using the services. And infrastructure is a key component of those services that are provided. And so over time, you need to be bringing in resources into the fund to be able to replace the aging infrastructure and add new infrastructure as it's needed. And so this type of a trend that we're seeing here, as you can see in each of those 5 years, the revenues have been above the expenses. And so that's a good trend to see there. You need to build up those resources in the fund. So that's the kind of activity that's expected and is a good sign. The cash trend in the water fund, as we can see, it's trending up northeasterly because of that we were looking at the difference between the revenues and the expenses on the previous slide. The wastewater fund, if we take a look, it's not looking quite so good in that respect. If you take a look at 18-19, in 3 of the last 5 years, actually, the operating expenses in the wastewater fund have exceeded the operating revenues. Now, there are some other revenues that come into the wastewater fund, so it's not in deficit, it's moving forward okay. But that operating activity you want to keep an eye on. Now, the good trend here is that difference between the revenues and expenses has been decreasing. And in fact, if you take a look at it, in 2022, the revenue was actually a little higher than the expenses were. And so that's a good trend. If the city can continue that trend moving forward, then, that's the direction you want to take it. If each year those expenses exceed the revenues, you're going to find yourself in a pinch when that infrastructure's got to be replaced. So something to keep in mind and keep an eye on. The cash trend for the wastewater fund, as you can see, it's dipped. It has been increasing the last couple of years, resulting from that other revenue. And then as we noted in 2022, the other year where the revenues exceeded the expenses. And so it's allowed some cash to be building up in there. Your internal service fund, your health insurance fund, this is going to have some years where the expenses are more than the revenue and some years where the revenue is more than the expense. It just depends on what the health care needs are. And so it's good. If we take a look at the last 5 years, you can see that the first 3, the revenues were in excess of the expenses. Allows you to build up the resources for those expensive times. There in 2021, the expenses were more than the revenues. And then in 2022, they were really pretty close. And then the cash trend resulting from that build up over time. Some of that's going to have to do with liabilities and timing as well. But there has been some cash that's been able to build up there in the insurance fund, which is good because healthcare when you have a big healthcare cost, it gets expensive fast. So it's good to have those resources in place. Looking at the major fund balances for this year and last year. If you take a look at the general fund, the current year is there on top, last year is there on the bottom. As you can see, the amounts are going up. General fund went up to 29,000, 22,000. So you're building up the resources there. The HERF has remained consistent at 1.4 million year to year. The internal service fund has gone up a little. It's up 3.2 from 2.8. The water fund has gone up a little over 2 million from 27 million to 29 million. And then the wastewater has gone up just over 1 million from 30 to 31. So it's good to get those resources. It gives you the flexibility to be able to meet the demands and meet any unexpected bumps along. So I know it's exciting. Are there any questions?
Thank you, sir. Any questions or comments? How easy that was.
You guys are good.
Appreciate
Good
it
city.
very much.
I appreciate it. If you do have any questions that come up down the road, my contact information is there. You're always welcome to reach out, or Justin or Carrie, their team have our contact information. We can always get information from you guys. Again, thank you. I'd like to thank the team again, your city's finance team, everybody that assisted with the audit. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it very much. Justin, you got any comments or anything?
I don't think.
Okay.
off.
Well, you're sneaking away. Justin, thank you and Carrie very much. You guys kind of make us look good up here, so we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Good audit.
job.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is consent calendar. We'll consider consideration of approval of employment agreement with city magistrate. Hang on. Consideration of approval of proposal fiscal year 2024 budget calendar. Consideration of acceptance of 16th Avenue and Park Plaza roadway. Consideration of acceptance of Frontier Park splash pad, which is amazing. Consideration of acceptance of amendments to grant funds from the governor's office, and consideration of the minutes of the Shoal City Council November 15th, 22, and the regular meeting or study session November 15th and the regular meeting November 15th, 2022. Is there anything that needs to be pulled or talked about? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept the consent calendar as read. I got a motion. I need a second. Got a second? Oh. Did I skip one?
Yeah.
What did I skip?
A.
I read that one first. A goes before
You didn't read it?
city magistrate?
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah, he did. You were asleep.
Okay.
A usually goes before.
I know, but
I know I went to Show High School, but I did get A
I did not
first.
hear you read it, Mayor.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I got a motion and a second. All those in favor? All those opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Thank you. Next item on the agenda under new business is that we'll have a public hearing for an application submitted by Laney Kathleen Meyer for a number 6 bar liquor license. Mrs. Hall, you want to give us a summary?
Yes,
please?
thank you, Mayor and Council. Lane Kathleen Meyer, representing Cattleman's Steakhouse and Lounge, submitted an owner transfer application for a number 6 bar liquor license for its location at 1231 East Deuce of Clubs. The request would transfer the existing number 6 bar license from the current license holder, Tiffany Sywinski, to the applicant. Lane Meyer has purchased Cattleman's Steakhouse and Lounge from Tiffany Sywinski, and as required by state law, the property was posted and no public input was received. The Shoal Police Department conducted a background check on the applicant and found nothing amiss. The Department of Liquor Licenses and Control conducts its own internal investigation and background checks. Based on the investigator's findings and the recommendation of the City Council, the State Liquor Board will decide whether to approve or deny the application. And then note that if the City Council chooses to recommend a denial of the application, a motion must state the reasons for denial. And the applicant is here if you guys have any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Hall. I appreciate that. Okay, at this time, I'll open up to a public hearing. Anybody going to sprint up here? Nobody? Okay, we will close the public hearing and turn it back over to the council for any questions or motions. Vice Mayor.
I'd just like to make a comment that, Cattleman's has been a landmark in our community for a long time. So congratulations, Mrs. Meyer, for your purchase. And we look forward to continuing the legacy that Tiffany and Tim have built around that and into the future. And with that, I would move to approve the application submitted by Lainey Kathleen Meyer for a number 6 bar liquor license on behalf of Cattleman's Steakhouse and Lounge for its location at 1231 East Shoalo, Arizona.
Got a motion? Got a second? Are there any questions or comments? If not, all those in favor? All those opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Thank you. And good luck. And yes, thank you very much. We're looking, Tim and Tiffany are rubbing it in a lot. There's a lot of pictures with oceans behind them and
We wish you
Alrighty.
the best.
yes, good luck. Next item on the agenda is consideration of award construction contract for East Mills and East Owens Waterline Replacement, City of Shoalo project number W322, and authorize associated budget transfer. Mr. Henson.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. City's fiscal year 2023 capital improvement plan budget included $160,000 for a water improvement project labeled Mills from Owens to 6, as well as $370,000 for a water improvement project labeled East Owens 1st Street to 11. The two projects are connected and were combined to save on procurement and construction costs. Scope of the work for this project consists of replacing approximately 4,000 linear feet of aging and deteriorating 6-inch and 2-inch AC and galvanized water line with new 8-inch PVC water main, installation of new water services, fire hydrants, and replacing any existing pavement or concrete required for the improvements. The project was designed by Painted Sky Engineering with a construction estimate of $635,000 for both projects. The project was bid in accordance with statutory requirements with the following results. Central Arizona Civil Construction Company at $695,989.00. Apache Underground Excavating at $715,382.00. B4 Enterprises, Inc. at $887,506.00, and Western Grade LLC at $1,098,320.50. Staff recommends the awarding the construction contract for the East Mills and East Owens waterline replacement, City of Shoalo project number W3222 to Central Arizona Civil Construction Company, and that amount not to exceed $695,989, and approve the associated budget transfers. The big tabulation for the work is attached and available for questions.
Thanks, sir. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion. Vice Mayor?
First of all, I'd like to make a comment on this project as well. The city does a lot of exciting projects, and while a street project may not seem exciting, this is pretty exciting because that road gets pretty loopy-doopy, and then it also provides a better roadway by the middle school and by the BMX track. So I'll move to award the construction contract for East Mills and East Owens water line replacement, City of Shoalo project W3222 to Central Arizona Civil Construction Company, in an amount not to exceed $695,989, and approve the associated budget transfers, and look forward to that completion, and so we can pave it.
Got a motion, I got a second. Any comments or questions? All those in favor? All those opposed, same sign? Just real quick before you leave, is the drawing, we're not realigning that road, right? Just kind of curious.
Oh, no, that little line got a little off there. You talking about Mills?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that exhibit looked good without the aerial, and that needs to
Yeah,
be
that's,
shifted.
okay. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You bet.
Okay, next item on the agenda is consideration of recommendation to select airport planning and environmental service consultant for focused planning study and environmental assessment and Crosswood Runway project. Mr. Allen.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. On October 21st, 2022, a request for qualifications was published to solicit statements of qualifications for airport consulting firms to provide planning and environmental services for the Crosswind Runway project per the Federal Aviation Administration and Arizona Department of Transportation standards. The selection process followed the procedures outlined by the FAA and Arizona Revised Statutes Title 34. 3 SOQs were received, and all 3 firms were interviewed by the selection committee. The firms gave a presentation and answered questions asked by the selection committee. Dibble and Associates Consulting Engineers, Inc. was selected as the most qualified firm. Staff recommends selecting Dibble and Associates Consulting Engineers, Inc. as the consulting for the airport planning and environmental services, focus planning study, and environmental assessment for the Crosswind Runway project. Scope of work and fees for the projects will be developed in coordination with the FAA following the consultant selection process. And I can answer any questions.
Questions, comments? I got a quick question, I guess. Is this going to be an additional runway, or because we have a Crosswind runway now, correct?
Yes, the plan is for a future north-south facing runway to better align with the prevailing winds at the airport. We're just barely outside of the 95% wind coverage that the FAA likes to see, which makes this project eligible. It'll also be a longer runway than what our current Crosswind runway is, which will make it more useful at this high elevation.
I understand this is just consulting, but does that mean the consulting eliminates that one that we have?
If this project is funded, which is what the focus planning study and the EA lead up to is the funding of the project.
Mhm.
If that happens, then yes, it would close down the existing 422 runway, which is the shorter secondary crosswind runway at the airport, and it would replace it with this runway.
Questions or comments? Motion?
Is
Question?
Dibble and Associates a blast from the past? Have they worked for us before?
I think years ago they did some water planning for us, yes, but not their airport group.
Any other questions or comments or motions? Vice Mayor.
I'll move to approve the recommendation to select Dibble and Associates Consulting Engineers Incorporated for the airport planning and environmental services, focused planning study and environmental assessment for the Crosswind Runway project.
I got a motion. I got a second. All those in favor? All those opposed, same side. Motion passed. Thank you, Mr. Allen. Appreciate that. Next item on the agenda is consideration of approval of a 5-year capital improvement plan for fiscal year 2024 to 2028. Mr. Cup.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The city of Shoalo is required by city code to have an approved 5-year capital improvement plan, CIP. CIP is a planning tool to look 5 years ahead to plan and prioritize the city's needs. The program is administered by an advisory committee that consists of city staff and representatives from the city council. Prior to the advisory committee meeting, a public notice is also issued seeking recommendations for capital project requests. Every requester that provides contact information receives a written response from staff. The first year of the CIP 2024 includes any projects that were not funded in the fiscal year 2023 budget. 2024 projects are the committee's top priorities. However, it is understood that all of the projects cannot be funded. The budget process, which is coming up soon, will be the final determinant in which projects receive funding. Only projects over $50,000 are included in the CIP. Smaller projects will be accounted for in each department's operations budget. Each project listed in the CIP has a detailed capital outlay project sheet, which identifies the project cost, potential funding sources, and a timetable. Detailed cost estimates and maps are also included with the worksheets when appropriate. And this folder has all the cost estimates and the maps, and it represents quite a bit of work from staff. Also, Carrie Belby was instrumental this year in organizing and helping out quite a bit, so we appreciate that. Staff held a meeting with the advisory committee on November 3rd, 2022, and on November 17th, 2022, at which time the CIP was approved by the committee. Staff recommends that the council approve the 5-year capital improvement plan for fiscal years 2024 to 2028. I'd be happy to answer questions.
Vice Mayor.
I just want to make a comment. to staff, thank you, thank you, thank you very much for getting the Timmy McCabe Park onto the docket, onto this plan so that we can move forward with that project.
We're looking forward to it too.
Councilman Hatch.
I'd make motion.
Yeah, I think we got one more question first. Councilman Adams, you had
I make a motion, but you go ahead.
anybody else have a question? Go ahead, Councilman Hatch.
I move to approve the 5-year capital improvement plan for fiscal years 2024 through 2028 for the city of Show Low.
I got a motion, I got a second by Councilman Adams. All those in favor? All those opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Thank you, Mr. Cup.
And thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
That's by the pound.
Okay, next item on the agenda is consideration of resolution number R 2022-24, adopting one-time reduction to consumer price index rates for water and wastewater utility fees, and a one-time reduction in construction cost index rates for capital fees. Good job.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and council members. On December 6, 2011, the City Council adopted resolution number R 2011-45, establishing an annual construction cost index adjustment to capacity fees. Similarly, on December 2nd, 2014, the City Council adopted resolution number R 2014-39, establishing an annual consumer price index adjustment for water and wastewater monthly billing rates. On November 15th, 2022, the City Council held a study session to discuss a reduced CPI adjustment to utility fees and a reduced CCI adjustment to capacity fees for the calendar year beginning January 1st, 2023 to ease the impact of inflation on its residents. Staff believes the balances of the applicable funds can absorb this reduction with minimal impact. Staff recommends approving resolution number R 22-24, authorizing a one-time reduction to the annual CPI and CCI adjustments in the following categories: no CPI increase for the water utility monthly fees, reduce the CPI increase in the wastewater utility monthly fees from 7.85% to 3%, and reduce the CCI increase in capacity fees from 7.74% to 3%. And I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Any questions, comments? Motions? Councilman Judd.
I move to adopt resolution number R 2022-24, approving a one-time reduction to consumer price index rates for water and wastewater utility fees and a one-time reduction to construction cost index rates for capacity fees for calendar year beginning January 1st, 2023.
Thank you, sir. Got a motion. I'll second it. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? All those opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Thank you, sir. Okay, next item on the agenda is consideration of award of purchase of vehicles and authorize associated budget transfers. Mr. Austin.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. The city's fiscal year 2023 budget included $627,352 between 4 departments and Public Works to purchase 10 city vehicles, including 3 3/4-ton trucks, 6 1-ton trucks, and 1 dual-wheel dump truck, bed dump truck. Excuse me. Each truck was sent to bid with a request that it be I'm sorry, that it be equipped with the city's standard equipment, which includes a service body, pipe racks, commercial snow plow system, light bars, and two-way radios. Bid packets were hand-delivered to 4 local dealers, which included Hatch Toyota, Arizona Dodge, Sholo Ford, and Horn Auto Center. A mandatory pre-bid conference was held October 27th, 2022, with Arizona Dodge and Sholo Ford in attendance, both of which submitted bids. Arizona Dodge rescinded his bid on November 14th, 2022, as his bid did not include the applicable taxes as required in the bid documents, leaving Sholo Ford the sole qualified bidder. Due to the rising price of the trucks and the standard upfit for the vehicles, the bid was over the budgeted amount by $226,453. After reducing the number of trucks from 10 to 8 and adjusting the upfits on 2 of the trucks, the difference between the budgeted amount and the final purchase price is $14,916.37. Staff recommends approving the purchase of 8 trucks from Sholo Ford in an amount not to exceed $642,268.37 and authorizing the associated budget transfers. You guys got any questions for me?
Thanks, sir. Questions? I got a quick question. The other dealerships that you hand delivered those to, whoever hand delivers those to, is it normal for them not to even put bids in?
Yes, sir.
But we still hand deliver to them just because
do.
it's kind of like our protocol?
Mhm.
Okay. Because I don't think I've ever seen anything from Horn or,
Warren did attend the last mandatory pre-bid, but he did not submit.
okay. Any other questions or comments, motions? Vice Mayor?
I move to award the purchase of 8 vehicles from Sholo Ford in an amount not to exceed $642,268.37 and authorize the associated budget transfers.
I got a motion. I got a second. All those in favor? All those opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Thank you.
Thank
Rick.
you, guys.
Appreciate it.
And thank you, Guy, for being willing to submit the bid for that. Thank you for doing that. We appreciate it.
Apologize that I'm late. Doing business, daughter, all the above. The Cougars, you know.
Hey, keep supporting those Cougars. That's all right.
Yeah.
All right, next item on the agenda is summary of current events. Council members, Councilman Adams?
I would just like to thank staff. The end of the year, they do such a great job all year long, and right now it's downtown looks awesome with the lights. Rick and his staff do amazing. I've had the chance to get to know Rick and them. They are just really excited for all that they do in our community, and I wanted them to know how grateful we are for all their hard work and that they do to help our community look good, especially right now at Christmas time.
Vice Mayor?
I too would like to thank our staff for all that they do on a daily basis to keep our community functioning like a clock. I mean, you guys do an amazing job, and we are an envied community because our staff makes us look good, and we appreciate each of you. Mr. Muter, we wish you well in your future retirement. Thank you for all your years of service. At this time, I'd like to wish all of our employees and my fellow council members a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year filled with hope, health, and happiness. Thanks for all you do.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Anybody else? Councilman Alsop?
Yes, first thing I'd like to thank JJ and Carrie Bilby for everything that they've done for our finances and everything else. I like going JJ because it's a lot shorter name than the big long name that he has. Also, I got to attend the memorial where Main Street donated $10,000 to the fund for the police officer memorial. It's out here that is being built by John Jarrett and his wife and a bunch of other people who's been involved in it. What a tribute from our Main Street departments or Main Street people that did different fundraisers and everything else and then donated the $10,000 for that. So I need to thank our president or head of the Main Street, Rob Turnbull, for doing everything he can to make that a lot better and to fund that a lot faster. And I also would like to wish staff and all the employees and everybody in Sholo a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I'd just like to echo what the other council members have said. I appreciate staff. The other night, Rick, we were driving down, we turned into Chase Bank for some reason, and we went down that road, and my son, who's 7 years old, he popped around the seat and saw the lights and they were changing, and he just was in awe of it. And he said, he made me stop the car and just kind of sit there and watch it for just a little bit there. And it was really interesting just to see the joy of Christmas on his face and being able to make that happen. So I want to thank Rick and your team for doing that. It's a really special thing. And
The downtown area just looks beautiful right now, so thank you. We just had the Feast of Carols last council meeting. We had the students came in. They did a phenomenal job performing in front of us. And I believe each of the shows that they had 4 shows, were sold out. So it's in its 38th year. It's indicative of our community to go out and to support those performing arts here in the community. I'd encourage people to go to the performing arts going on this Thursday night at the Sholo Auditorium. The Forgotten Carols are going to be here. I have my tickets. I bought them a week or so ago, and there wasn't a lot left. And so I'm kind of excited about it. There's a lot of, I think most of like 2/3 of the first part are all bought up and stuff, and there's only a few left in the back. So I'd encourage people to go and buy those tickets. And then I'd do the same as our Vice Mayor said. I'd like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And it's our last meeting before January. So enjoy the holidays.
Thank you, Councilman Clark. I also want to ditto everything. I mean, it's amazing how our city looks this time of year. But I did go over to the Inclusive Playground. I don't know if any of you have been over there to see that yet. It's absolutely amazing. We did a ribbon cutting, and thank you, council members that were there. That's just amazing. We're the first ones in Arizona to have something like this, and it's just nice to hear, because I'm a promoter, obviously, of rural Arizona, but it's always nice to hear that little town of Sholo compared to the big cities in the valley, and they brought that, we work together in bringing that playground up here. So if you get a chance, you definitely need to go by and look at that. Also, have a Merry Christmas. Everybody be safe out there. The town's getting busy already, and I don't know why. I guess it never slows down anymore, but even coming down here, it seems like traffic's, and at nighttime it's a little hard to see anyway. But anyway, everybody have a Merry Christmas. Be safe out there. Ed, thank you for everything you've done. I've kind of spent my career, it seems like, with you, from planning and zoning to city council. I know this is your last meeting, I believe, or pretty close to the last meeting, maybe one more. Oh yeah, we have 2 more. But anyway, in case we forget, thank you for everything you've done for the city as well. I know it's every day when I talk to you, it's hard for you to leave, but sometimes it's time. But anyway, I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Mutter.
Okay, just a few things to report. As you mentioned, Christmas lights and holiday decorations are in full display. The show shines for the holidays and will continue until after New Year's. In addition, we have several family-friendly events to celebrate the holidays. There will be a flashlight candy cane hunt. Will be held at the senior field at City Park on Thursday, December 9th. For kids 12 and under, and the cost is $5 per person. And you can contact Parks and Rec at 532-4130 for information on that one. The library will be hosting a Winter Fest, which is a family event on December 14th from 4 to 7 p.m. And their number is 532-4070. And the final event for the year is a Deuce of Clubs drop on New Year's Eve, December 31st, in front of the public library. The festivities will begin at 11 p.m., followed by the dropping of the giant card and fireworks at midnight. Just a reminder that the Aquatic Center remains closed for annual maintenance and will be reopened to the public next Monday, December 19th, on Monday, December 19th. And we appreciate everyone's patience during that closure. They're doing some maintenance items in the building. Just a note, the Community Fast officially ended about 3 weeks ago, but donations are still being accepted to help our fellow citizens in need this holiday season. I believe they were able to distribute over $56,000 that was collected this year to different organizations, which is good for those organizations. Will be able to help a lot of people. And you can still donate at City Hall on National Bank, Chase Bank, and Arizona Central Credit Union. After the holidays, we can recycle our Christmas trees from Sunday, December 26th to Sunday, January 8th by dropping it off with all the decorations and lights removed at the designated area at Frontier Park, which is the parking lot north of the Deuce Clubs on 9th Place. The trees will then be taken to Novo Power and be used as biomass funeral. The city would also like to express condolences to the Mills family on the passing of former Councilman Doyle Mills. Councilman Mills served for 4 years on the city council from May of 1980 to May of 1984. And we appreciate his service to the city and the citizens of Show Low. And just to note, this is our last regular council meeting for 2022, so we wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a safe and happy holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Anybody need seconds? All righty, next item on the agenda is scheduling meetings. Just to remind everybody, we may have a Zoom meeting or a call next week. So staff will let you know as we move forward on that. All righty, again, thank you guys very much. Have a great New Year, Christmas and New Year, and there's no more business before this council. I'll adjourn this meeting.